Good evening, everyone, and happy Thursday. Welcome back. I hope everybody's doing good tonight. It's a little warm here tonight, but there is a nice rain falling outside. We've had rain on and off all day today, so it is hot and humid and wet. So tonight, we are working with the suite Storybook Gnomes. The stamp set is called Kindest Gnomes, and there's 4 different gnomes and this adorable little, hey do. Ah, good. I'm glad she's sleeping. This adorable mushroom house. And then it also has some really cute dies. And not only can you cut those 4 little gnomes out, but you can create a gnome with his beard and his hat and his little feet. And here's a nose. So, hey, Margaret, how are you? So this is a really sweet little set. And although these are not traditional Christmas colors, they are Christmas cards. So this one, I die cut the mushroom actually out of the designer series paper. Let's see if I can grab a sheet here. So you can see that the designer series paper has all these adorable little mushroom houses on it, and the die actually fits this house on the mushroom. Now, if we lose connection, I just heard thunder. If we lose connection, I'll have to stop and then come back when it is working again. So that's what I did here. And then there's also these adorable mushrooms. And then the inside, I actually stamped the mushroom house and colored it because I added from our home. So here's our home to yours. Then I created this, and I'm going to make it so it stands a little higher tonight. It's a Post-it note holder. And here's the gnome that I had talked about that you can die cut with the dies. And here's his little feet. Hey, Pamela, how are you? I love these gnomes too. And then I just added this DSP with the snowflakes into the center of this Pentel pen, just to add it so it will go with the Post-it notes. Then for this card here, I used that DSP, and I actually created a piece of film. Now, how I did this was I cut my piece of cardstock. I used the layering squares to cut that out. And then I grabbed my Blossoming Happiness dies. And in this die set is, and I didn't even clean it out. So let's see if we can get these out. And I can't, not right now. And it has this piece where I cut the side holes. And you'll notice that there's a line to cut on the end. So I just laid it right up against the end of the cardstock, taped it in place, and then die cut it. And then I cut out with the layering squares. Hi, Carol. Hi, Linda. Oh, well, welcome, Linda. I'm very happy to have you. So I made this piece of film, backed it with some white cardstock, cut out some images from the designer series paper, colored up some gnomes, actually gave him a plaid shirt to make a Christmas card that is non-traditional colors, but he's cute. And then just a strip of the designer series paper on the inside. So just as a reminder, during the month of July and August, if you join Stampin' Up! As a hobby demonstrator or a business builder, Stampin' Up! Is going to give you this Making Plans collection. There's a planner, all the inserts, 3 notebooks, and a stamp set. So it's a great deal for $99, and I'd love to have you on my team. So let's get started. We'll start with this one here. And I'm using the Parakeet Party cardstock, nice and bright. And it is 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4 1/4. Now you don't have to keep track of all my measurements. I will be posting a PDF tomorrow with all the measurements for tonight's cards. So there is our card base. Then I have a layer of basic black. And this layer is 5 1/4 by 4. And we're just going to adhere this right to the front of the card. Now, I did not take out a new glue, so hopefully it won't give me trouble tonight. Okay, so let's just lay this down right on the front of the card. Now we have a layer of basic white. Now this layer is 3 3/4 by 4 7/8. And what we're going to do, I'm going to pull out a piece of scrap paper, and I am going to pull out a blending brush. And then I want to grab, and I didn't even pull it out, my Balmy Blue. Hey, Elizabeth. Hi, Karen. Oh, how nice. She's there to take care of your horses. That's wonderful. Sunny and 79. It was hot and humid today here. Really hot and humid. Thanks, Stu. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to put this blue sky in, and you'll notice that we have a moon. I took some masking paper and added it to this is what I cut out of that strip of film. And I am just going to grab a 1-inch circle, and we're just going to cut a circle. And then I'm going to grab my pokey tool that has glue on the tip. And I'm just going to peel that masking tape off. Decide where I want my moon, and we're going to lay that right down. I'm going to grab my Balmy Blue, and we're going to blend in our sky. So I like to start off the paper and bring the brush onto our cardstock. And you're just going to blend. And we don't want to cover the whole layer. We just want to put it just about a half of it at an angle, just like this. And we're just going to continue to add color until we get the background just the way we like it. And it's going to take a few times. You want to blend your color on layer by layer instead of trying to make it the color you want all at once. So we're just going to keep adding some color. Listen to that rain out there. My goodness. So let me just see how that looks. I'm going to do it just a little bit darker here. Okay. It's not as dark as the first one, so let's keep on going. There we go. Now it's coming. So we just want to blend this color in. We know we're going to put our sentiment up here, so we don't really have to add too much blue there. I'm going over that mask that I put down for the moon because I want that to be nice and bright. I'm going to leave this open for a second, and I'm just going to pull this circle off so you can see that the moon is there. I don't want it so stark white, so I'm just going to go over it a little bit with what's left on my brush, just so it tones it down just a little bit. Hi, Peggy. Wow, your weather seems to be nice after those storms, huh, Karen? Okay, so there's our layer. Now, like I showed you in the beginning, I took the die and I actually die cut the mushroom out of the designer series paper. And we're going to lay that on the front of the card. And what I'm going to do is, let me just grab my marker. I have the light balmy blue. That's the same color we used for the background. And I'm actually going to color the bottom of this mushroom, and then I'm going to extend it underneath on the white cardstock. Okay, I'm going to pull that away so you can see that I have the balmy blue right here on the cardstock, and it's casting a little bit of a shadow. So I'm just going to take my color lifter and I'm going to go right on the end of the color, because I want to just blend that out and let it run a little bit so that color just fades away a little bit. So we have our mushroom. In the die set that I showed you before, let me just pull it out. We have some mushroom stems and little mushroom heads. There's actually 2 of them in here. Here's the other one. So I actually die cut these already to save us time, and I cut them out in real red. And you'll notice, let me pick these up. Hi, Pam. How are you? Thank you, honey. I want everybody to continue commenting during the live stream, because I do have, and let me pull it out so I can show you. I didn't pull it out before, but I have a brand new pack of peaceful prints. I can't show you the paper because it's still wrapped. I'll cut it in 6x6 or 4x6 pieces. It'll be up to you. You just let me know, and I'll choose a winner at the end of this broadcast. So like I said, with these mushrooms, you'll notice that it is embossed. There's little lines and little dots at the top. I'm just going to take my gel pen and I am going to add a little bit of gel pen. This is white, in those little holes. And then I'm going to draw a white line in the embossed area at the bottom. And you probably can't really see that. Now you can see that I just added some white to the mushrooms. And I did that because you'll notice on the mushroom from the designer series paper. Hi, Roz. How are you? Welcome. Hi, Louise. You'll notice on this mushroom, there are white dots or off-white dots. So we're going to do the same thing to this one. Just going to add a bit of gel. So there's our mushrooms. And let's see what else we have here. I did die cut some grass in the parakeet party. And 2 stems in crumb cake. Now for our little gnome, I actually did color him. There's 3 gnomes on these cards. I colored 2 of them, and I'll show you why. I left one to color together, but I colored this little girl with the hair, and I colored this little guy for this card, and then we're going to add a different color hat to him. So I did these in advance only because just for these 2 images, these are the blends that I use to color them. Yes, I know they're really tiny, but I use a lot of different colors. So what I'm going to do is this little guy here will color together. Okay, so you can see it. You would use the same technique on that little guy as you would on these. But what I did with him, we're going to grab this stamp. Let's see where he is. He's right here. So here is this little guy here. I stamped him on basic white, and I stamped him in Memento. I know a lot of people say that you need to use StazOn with your blends instead of Memento, but I do stamp in Memento. I don't color right away. I let it dry for a while, and then I'll color with my blends. So what I did was I took a piece of designer series paper, and I just inked up the top half of this little gnome, and I stamped it on the designer series paper. So I have a nice hat, and I fussy cut just his hat so we can add that to our gnome. But before I add it to him, I'm going to grab, let's see what I used here, my dark parakeet party. I'm just going to add some shadow. We're going to add it along this line. And I'm going to move my camera down, so don't go nuts. There we go. Yeah, I love this bundle too, Pam. They are just the sweetest. I can think of so many different cards we could make with these guys. And then I'm just going to add a bit of shadow where that crease is. And then I'm going to add a bit of shadow where this crease is. Just to add a little bit of dimension to the top of his hat. You really can't see it, but I know it's there. And I just added a little bit of whimsy to our hat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some little dimensionals, some of our mini dimensionals. I'm just going to add them to the back of this hat. And now we want to line it up so it covers this white hat on his head. And that looks pretty good. So now he has a little hat, and it's a little higher than his body. So let's just pull in our piece that we just did, and I'm going to actually attach it to the card base. I'm going to add my seal. Let's just move him out of the way to this layer here. It's a little bit easier to line this up and drop it down. So we're just going to line this up and make sure it's done there straight. And then we're going to take our mushroom, and we are actually just going to, before we do that, let me grab my From Our Home to Your Home. That one's not it. Thankfully, this is a see-through stamp, so I can see through it to make sure I get it on here straight. And I just got black on my fingers, so let me just clean it off. You know what happens to me when I start working with white. We end up in a disaster. Okay, so we want to put From Our Home to Yours right up here. So I'm just going to pull it down and stamp. Now I noticed that my H there didn't catch all the ink, so I'm just going to use a marker and just fill in that space a bit. Okay, let's grab that mushroom. We're just going to add some glue to the back of this mushroom. And we're going to line it up where we added that little bit of a shadow. Want to make sure that it's on here straight. Just like that. Now let's grab that little gnome. We're also going to just glue him down right to the front. With the price of postage going up, try to think of quick and easy cards. Let's just scooch him down a little bit so we can see that window. So there he is right on the front of our card. Hey, Kathy. I have a hard time to do. Don't worry about it. Okay, so now we're going to take this little clump of grass, and I'm going to grab those mini dimensionals again. And we're going to, I'm just going to add one right down here at the bottom. Just like that, because I want to be able to, and I think I did do two. All right, let's see if I can't cut just a little piece off. I'm just going to cut a little piece. Now it's so tiny, I'm not going to be able to work with it. Let's grab it with these pokey tools. So let's just add another one right about there. And I'm going to line it up right here at the end of the basic white. So now we have our little piece of grass. And I'm going to now add my stems. So we're going to glue these down also. So we're just going to add a little bit of glue. And this piece is going to go to the right, and I want to scoot it down so it is underneath that grass. You know what? I don't think I took the paper off. I didn't. There we go. I was wondering why it was moving so much. I forgot to take the paper off. And then we're going to take the larger stem, all these little teeny tiny pieces. I should have a pair of tweezers. And we're going to add some glue. And we're going to add this right here behind this side. So for our little mushrooms, let's just turn them over. Grab those mini dimensionals again. And this time I am just going to put one little mini dimensional on the back. And we're going to add one here. Take the other one. And we're going to add it right here. For the bottom, I am just going to, let me see if I have my spoon out. And I'm just going to grab a sheet of scrap paper. I have my fine tip glue. And I'm just going to twist off the top. I know we don't have glitter anymore in Stampin' Up, but I am going to add some glitter for snow to the bottom of this card. So if you happen to make a purchase and you want tonight's make and takes, I will send you some glitter so you too can finish your card. All right, so we just added a little bit of glitter for some pretty snow. And I'm going to let that dry before I start banging it around. Then I'm going to grab my fine sparkle adhesives, and we're going to use these blue ones. And I'm going to put one large one here at the bottom corner. Make sure I don't hit that glue. And then we're going to take a smaller one, and we're going to put it up in this corner. I'm just going to put that aside because we want that to dry. So now let's pull in our inside. We have a layer that's 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and our basic white is 5 1/4 by 4. Let's grab that mushroom and our memento. Now, like I said, I usually stamp it and let it dry. We're going to ink this up, and we're just going to stamp half of the mushroom on the inside of the card. Let's pull that away. So here's our mushroom. We are going to, and let me just look at this. We never color the same twice in a row. Just know that when you're coloring. You can use exactly the same colors, and it's going to look different. So I'm going to grab some dark cherry cobbler, some light cherry cobbler, and let's see where it is. Some light real red. And we're going to color. So we're going to take our dark cherry cobbler, and we are going to use the nib end. I'm just going to outline this window. That's that window that's sticking up right here. And then we're going to look at the artist lines, and we are going to just color over these artist lines. Very quick and easy. And then I'm going to take my light cherry cobbler, and I am going to go across this way And I'm going to extend that color and just flick my way around. And I'm going to leave the edge. And I'm going to turn it this way. And starting over here, I'm going to flick my color from the end of the mushroom right up. And you want to follow the curve of the mushroom all the way up. And we're going to just extend this all the way across. Now I'm going to take my light real red, and again, using the nib end, I am going to extend this color. So we're going over the end of what we just colored, and we're extending the color. And we're going to do the same thing, going over the end, but we want to leave some white. So we're just going to extend this out, and we're going to leave some white. This piece here, we are going to color this in the real red, but we're going to leave some white right there. On our little house here, let's grab our light cherry cobbler. We're going to do the top of the roof. And then we're going to color in the rest of the roof with real red. So we have a bit of color. Hey, Diana, how are you? Thank you. Yep, we could emboss some white. Hey, Sheila. So now that that's colored, we're going to use the brush end of our real red, and we're going to give it a wash. What do I mean by a wash? We're not going to scrub. We're just going to lay it down and go right across and lift it. Whoops, I went out. Lift it up. Usually I go from my line. That's why. So we're just going to scoop it right across. And then we're going to add some color there. And that way, everything where we left it white, it will be a little lighter. And I'm going to just add this here. See if I can't lift that a little bit. So now I'm going to go back to my cherry cobbler. And I'm just going to add some more of the light cherry cobbler to both sides. And then I'm going to do my real red again and extend that color, going over the edge where we just colored. And I'll have to keep, as this dries, you can go over it again. But you have to let the color lifter dry as you keep adding color to it, okay, if that ever happens. So you'll see that there is a little bit of blending being done there. So now we're going to grab some soft suede, dark and light, and we're going to grab our light crumb cake. Grabbing our dark suede, we're going to do under this mushroom, following the artist lines. Let's just outline this. So we're going to follow the artist lines. We're not doing the house right now, just the underside. We're going to grab our light soft suede, extend that color, and you don't have to do it perfect. You can have, your lines can be broken up. And then we're going to grab our light crumb cake, and we're going to fill this in. Okay. So now let's work with our light soft suede, our dark crumb cake, and our light crumb cake. So we want to do this part of the house. So using our light soft suede, we're going to come under that mushroom head. And again, follow these artist lines. Going to leave a little bit of white there. Hit the artist lines here, and then the artist lines here. Let's go around the edge of this door. Let's see what the light dark crumb cake looks like. It's just about the same color. So let's just extend this out. This time, let's go around the window. Yeah, it's pretty close to the same color. That's okay. All right. And then we're going to take our light crumb cake and let's just fill this in. So you can go over what you've just colored, but know that where this is a light marker, it has more alcohol in it. So it is going to fade what you've already put down on your paper. Yes, they are Color Street nails, Karen. They're from Casey. I've had them since I bought them from her. Gosh, a while ago, and I just actually had a chance to sit down and do them. How crazy is that? It's been so crazy. All right, so now let's grab our dark soft suede and we're going to outline the inside of this door all the way around. We're going to go under these crossbars. Then we're going to take the light soft suede. We're going to extend that shadow, go across the top, and just draw down the lines. Extend that color, go across the top, and hit those lines. Sorry, my bracelet keeps hitting the table. And then across the bottom and down the lines. So now we're going to grab our, well, let's grab the light crumb cake and we're just going to now color this in, hit the center, these cross pieces, and let's not forget this little window. And then I'm going to grab my balmy blue and I'm just going to color in the window. This should be a little bit drier, so we're going to add some more. And I'm going to keep doing that until I get rid of it. So until it disappears, I'm just going to adhere this to the inside. So let's grab my seal. I'm going to add it to the bottom layer, the matte layer. I don't want to add it to this because sometimes the glue shows through. So we're going to lay this down. Let's get this, get the extra off. Open this up. Hopefully it's dry. And add some glue. I'll keep working on this spot And I'll show you how many chances it takes to get rid of that. Okay, so here is card number 1. Very non-traditional Christmas card. And it actually doesn't need to even be a Christmas card. It just says from our home to yours. Hey, if you wanted to and that you're a Facebook user. So whoever just said hi, Jane, I'm not sure who you are. Thanks, Pamela. So you could always add Merry Christmas to the inside if you wanted to. So there's card number 1. So let's jump to card number 2. So we have that parakeet party again. This time it's 11 by 4 1/4, and it's scored at 5 1/2. And we're going to use that basic black again. And it's 5 1/4 by 4. Then we're going to use some designer series paper. And I just decided to use the snowflakes. I know it's not even close to being parakeet party, but that's okay. So yeah, this is what's on the back. Cute little gnomes. And this one is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And I bent it. So let's add these two, because we're just going to, again, we're not popping these layers up. And what did I do with that card? Here it is right here. So let's layer this on. I'm just going to lift it up so I can get this straight. Oops, still not straight. Thank goodness for glue. All right, there we go. Okay, so here they are here. And then we can add some glue and just slip this onto the front of the card. Okay, so there's our card base. Now, like I explained before, and I'll show you exactly what I did. I cut a piece of cardstock, basic black, and it is actually wrong side of the ruler, Jane. 2 3/4 by 4 7/8. I took the layering squares and cut out my squares. Then I took this piece from the Blossoming Happiness dies, and like I said, you'll notice this cutting ridge right here. I laid that at the end. That's why this piece is here. I laid it right at the end of the cardstock. I taped it down with some washi tape, and then turned it around, made sure that that line was on the outside again, and cut. And that's how I got it to look like a piece of film. So we just have to take out these little pieces. I didn't even take them out. And like I said, this is the piece that was cut off when I lined it up on my cardstock. Let me just put that away. So all we're going to do is take some scissors, and I'm just going to round this corner off just a little bit. Each one, we're just going to round it off. Even this side. Okay, so now we have our piece of film. Next, what I did is I'm going to take a piece of basic white, and this is 2 by 4, and this actually fits. I cut it a little too short. Let me just make it a little longer. Let's do 2 by 5. I wasn't thinking that I did not put my squares the same as I did on here. So let's just make sure this fits. And it does. And I can take off a little piece here. So let's just mark this just like that. And grab our little cutter. And let's just trim that down. Okay. So here is our piece. We want the right side up. We're just going to lay this down just to get an idea as to how it's going to sit. And let me see if I can grab a pencil. And very carefully, I'm just going to put a light mark on the upper and lower of this inside piece. And then I want one up here at the top. And then at least on one side. I just want to get an idea of where I'm going to put this, because you'll notice that this film strip is actually popped up. So I want to make sure I know exactly where I need to lay this. Plus, I need to now take these little photos that I die cut with the layering squares from the designer series paper. I need to know just about where this has to go. It's going to be a little smaller than my lines. This way I have some white. You can see that there's a white rim around the photos. That die is from the Blossoming Happiness dies. That's where that's from. So that's where I know I need to put my photo also. So let's just add some glue. Here, you can see our lines. We want to make sure that don't look at the paper. We're following the lines. So we want it to be just about equal and straight on each side, because we're not going to see this edge. And then we're going to do the same thing with this second photo. We're going to line this up using those lines. Now we can use this photo to get it on here straight and line it up. So there's our photos. Let's pull in our card base. And we just want to add this to the front of the card. Just about like that. Because we know it may come over the edge just a little bit. So let's just scoot this down a little when we glue it. We're just going to glue this down onto the front of the card. Whoops. Okay. Now we can add our film strip. I'm going to use the strips of foam. And I'm going to grab my old scissors. And I just want little pieces. And we're going to turn this over on the wrong side. And we're going to add these to the back of this piece. Instead of using a bunch of little dimensionals, we can just run this right down. Now I'm just going to cut this in half. Oops. Add one here. Add one here. And I think these are probably too long. Let's try them out. Stopped raining, my goodness. Just a quick shower. The humidity is probably outrageous out there. And we're just going to add this one right here to the top. We want this to lay on the front of the card pretty even. All right, so let's pull our paper. You know how much I love the paper from the back. And you know what? I have one more piece. I'm actually going to take this last piece and put it right here in the center. This way it won't sag. Now, before you lay it down, you want to make sure that we have it in the right direction, and we do not. So let's turn it around. We're lining it up with those pencil marks. We want to get that photo inside this square as straight as we can and lay it down. Now, if you don't want it to go over your edge, you can round that off. It's off a little bit up here, but I'm going to leave it. Okay. Hey, Kathy, how are you? Thank you. Hi, Maureen. How was the visit to the hospital? It went really well. They were afraid that he wouldn't make it through the anesthesia, but he did fine. We have our doctor's appointment tomorrow to get the results to the biopsy so we know what kind of cancer and what kind of treatments and everything. So that's tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. I'll update you all on Saturday. But he's doing pretty good. He feels pretty good, so that's good. That's the important part. Okay, so here's our film strip. Now, here is our one little gnome. Let me just pull out all these pieces. What did I do with that second little gnome? I showed her to you, didn't I? Oh, here she is. Here's our second little gnome. And she is going to be glued right here on this film strip. So we'll add some glue here. And let's just lay her right down. And I used Parakeet Party Blend on her. Okay, so there she is. And while we do him, let's just grab some Winka Stella, and we're going to add some Winka Stella to her collar and to her little apron here. And then there's two little pieces of apron on the side. Put some dots on her sleeve. And there's our sweet little gnome. So let's grab this gnome here. I'm going to grab a scrap piece of paper. Let's work on his face. And I'm going to grab, let's see, 700. Nope. 1,000, SU 1,000. And we're going to color his nose and where his eyes are. Now I'm going to grab, we don't want 900. We want 600. And we'll do 800. 600 is our shadow. 800 is our middle tone. So let's take the dark one And we're going to add a dark shadow at the bottom of his nose. And we're also going to color in his face with the dark one. Okay, now it looks really dark right now, but that's because it's on a piece of white cardstock and there's no other color around it. Yeah, we've had a rough go since November. I've almost lost him 3 times. Okay, so now let's grab that 800. And like I said, it is really dark because we have no other color on this little gnome. Once we start coloring him, his face will look lighter. So we're going to extend that dark color right around in a circle. And then we're going to leave a little white light spot right at the top of his nose. So let's go back. Believe it or not, I want to darken up this shadow even more. How crazy is that? And then I'm going to use my 800 again and add that line. So let's go back to the 1000. Where did I put it? 900 again. Oh, here it is. Here's the 1000. So we'll go back to the 1000 again. Let's go around the outside so that color blends. We'll add a little bit to the center, but we still want that little white or light space on his nose. Okay? So it looks really dark, but let's fix that. Let's grab our light and dark cherry cobbler and again our real red. So let's grab our cherry cobbler and we're going to add our shadows. So this little piece of his hat is sitting behind. This here, we're going to add a line coming out and a line coming out because that's where there's folds. There's probably a fold right about there. And then right here by his mitten, we're going to add a shadow around his hand. Right here, his hat is flipped up, so that's going to be light. And we're just going to add a shadow that comes up and gets a little thicker. Okay, so there is our shadows, our darkest shadows. Grab your light cherry cobbler, and we're just going to extend these lines. So we're just extending the shadows. This one, we're going to extend it on the bottom and the top. On the top and the bottom here, coming to a point. Coming to a point. And we're going to extend this line a little and then extend the color up and around. We're going to add the light cherry cobbler for a shadow by his hand and then right here. Just like that. Okay. Now this time though, we're going to grab our dark real red because there's so much space left after adding our shadows. And I'm going to run late again tonight. I can't believe it. We're going to use time for medicine. Everybody take your medicine. We're going to add dark real red to the edges. I'm going to leave a little space, but we're going to come around, leave a little space, and we're going to come around, and then we're going to bring it down. We're not going to do down here, but we are going to extend this line all the way up. Head over here, we're going to leave a white space, And we're going to add some real red. Let's extend this out even a little more. Okay? Extend it here and here. That we're going to leave, and now we're going to go to our light real red. And we're just going to extend the color. We're going to leave some white areas, extend the color. Some areas are going to be really thin with white. We want to leave some white so there's separation. Right here, we're actually going to color it in and then just extend and extend. So now that we have our basic hat, hey Nancy, how are you? Oh, you're welcome. The numbers on the markers. These were the markers that came out with the, what was the name of that stamp set? All Together, We're Togethers. And it gave it was a set where it gave you all the skin tones, and instead of naming them, Stampin' Up! Gave them numbers. The higher the number, the lighter the marker. And they came in packs of 2. I think it was 100 and 200, 300 and 400. And I mix and match. I don't go with what they tell you to use. So, yeah, I'm crazy that way. Okay, so now that we added our light real red and we still have white, we're going to do a wash. You know I only use the nib usually, but for a wash, I am going to use the brush. And we're going to just swoosh it right across the whole of the hat over everything we've colored. So everything blends together nicely. We just want to do it real quick. You don't want to linger. You just want to get that on there. So then this way, as it dries, and the light is no good for it, as it dries, you'll see the shadows and you'll see the highlights. Hey Kathy, you just have to remember, in order to see light, you need to have dark. Now you'll notice on his nose and his face, it doesn't look as dark as it was because we've added red to the image. So it lightens up the colors. So let's do his shirt. Instead of coloring his shirt in completely, I decided to do something a little different. I grabbed some Stampin' Write markers, and I grabbed Starry Sky and Poppy Parade. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the pen part, and I am just going to draw some lines down his shirt and then across. And then we're going to come over here to this arm. Now this arm is curved, so you want this line up top to curve. You want to follow his arm. So we're going to put some stripes there and then across. Let's grab our Starry Sky and let's put a blue on this side. Add it like that. And let's add him across like that. So we're giving him a little bit of a plaid shirt. So we'll just add some lines. There we go. He's got a nice plaid shirt just by adding lines. His little mouth, I'm going to add some dark cherry cobbler. His shoes, I'm going to grab my light and dark gray granite. Let's see, there it is. That's crumb cake. Here it is. So we got to get his soles of his shoes. So let's color in the soles of his shoes. And I'm just going to add some color. And then we're going to color them over in light gray granite. While I have my light gray granite out, I'm going to add a shadow under his hat, under his nose, around his arm, down this side where his arm is, and then I'm just going to add it to the lines in his beard. Now let's do his pants. I have light balmy blue, and I'm going to grab, let me grab the light night of navy and the light misty moonlight. I just want to check to see which one's darker. Okay, so we're going to do the light night of navy, and we're going to outline by his arm and then a little bit up from the bottom. In the center here, we're going to go around his shoe, under his beard, and that should be it. Then we're going to take our, light misty moonlight. We're going to go around the back, right by his shoe, and just extend that color a little. Go underneath, extend the color. And then we're going to take our light balmy blue, and I think it might be too light, so let's go to dark balmy blue. Whoops. That's my mistake. I was trying to see if I could refill it with some ink. Okay, so there is his little pants. We should really add some color, and I know I get crazy here. We're going to do some light gray granite. We're going to add a shadow under his sleeve and around the bottom, and then his sleeve. So there is our sweet little gnome. He's going to go on this side of the film strip. And we're just going to glue him right there. So let's grab some basic white parakeet party. I know, ladies, we're late again, and I even colored my images so I wouldn't run over. And we're going to use Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So let's ink this up and hope I get it on here straight. You never can tell. It's a little crooked, so let's move it up a little bit. I think I did the same, stamped it exactly the same way as I did the first time. Let's see what it looks like. You know what? I don't think that it is actually a straight saying anyway. It looks like it's crooked. We're going to go with it. All right. So I'm just going to trim and adhere. All I see is sparkles. Let's get this on here straight at least. So let's cut this, pull our card in, and now we're going to add this. And I'm going to actually grab a dimensional. Oh, there they are. Right at the end. And right in the center. And you know what? I should have remembered. I got to lift this up. The dimensionals that we use. Okay, I'll have to fix that. These dimensionals and those foam strips, the dimensionals are not as thick as those foam strips. So if I push this down, it's going to have a little bit of a curve to it. So I'm just going to leave that up and I will fix that later. So now we're going to use these lighter blue, move her down, and we're going to put 2 in this corner and a large one in the bottom corner. The inside is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, 5 1/4 by 4 for the white. And then I have basic black, which is a 1/2 inch, and it's going to be the length of the basic white. And then we have 5/8 of an inch. So let's adhere this to the black. So we're just going to lay this down and center this. So, thanks, Pam. Thanks, Kathy. I appreciate that. All right. So we're late. Did you ever realize that cardstock has a right and a wrong side after you have cut it? There really is a difference. Okay, so now we're just going to lay this down. We want it to be straight, so I'm just going to make sure it's flush with this end. And now I can turn it over and trim it. Grab our parakeet party. Add our seal. And lay that down. Now if we can just open up this card. Thankfully I didn't put it on upside down. Been there, done that. Okay, so there is the second card. A little film strip and colored little gnomes. All right, one more project and I'll try to get through this pretty quick. We have basic white, 4 1/8 by 5. And I scored it at 1/2 inch and 1 inch, and then turned it 1/2 inch and 1 inch. And then I scored it at 4 and 4 1/2. And what we want to do is grab our scissors, and we are actually going to cut this outside piece off. You don't really have to worry too much about cutting the line completely straight. because we're going to tuck that underneath so the edge is a nice finished edge. Let's do the same thing on this side. Like I said, we don't have to worry about it being completely straight. Okay, so this is what we're left with. Now we want to make the bottom piece, so let's fold this up just like this. This is going to be what holds that little piece. We're going to cut out this middle square just like that. I just want to make sure I'm not, and we're going to create a little tab right here. Okay, so now we have these two pieces, and let's just angle these off. Head to the other side. We're going to cut out this square. Oops. And then create a tab. And the same thing here. So this is what we're left with. So let's go ahead and finish folding. So everything has nice clean edges. I want to make sure it's straight. I should have folded and burnished before. So here's the back piece. This is what I said, that line doesn't need to be cut straight because we're actually going to fold these over, and this is the back piece. I do have a piece that we're going to cover it with. Okay, so we'll hide all that. Now we're going to turn it over. These little edges come up, these little tabs. Here, we're going to add some glue to these tabs. And let's fold this up and attach those tabs to these sides. We're actually making a little box, but just on the front. And let's do this. It's so tiny, so it's hard to work. So let's add some, let's do it this way. These pieces on the outside, let's add our glue. It'll be easier this way. We're going to fold this up, and this is going to be tucked in and adhered to the back piece. So you want to make sure that these edges are straight and it's even with that back. And the same thing on the other side. Let me just get this. It's so little. So we want it to be straight and even with that back. Let me just hold it there for a second. When you want the glue to dry, it doesn't. When you don't want it to dry, it does. So let's just get this in here and make sure they're down. Okay. So then this little tiny Post-it pad will fit right inside here, just like that. We're going to take a little tiny piece that's 1/2 by 1 7/8, and we're just going to add this to the front. I'm going to take this out for a second. Then I have some of the designer series paper and the basic black. And this is 2 by 3 5/8, and then 1 7/8 by 3 and just about 3 1/2. I'm not really too worried about this bottom piece because it's going to tuck into this box. So we're going to add our glue. This is just a cutesy little quick and easy Post-it holder. Add our glue. We want to tuck this in. That's going to cover those little tabs. And just add out to our background. Now we can add our pad back in. Here's that back piece. So let's just add some glue. And we're going to cover up those seams. Oops. We have a little pair of shoes that we're just going to add to this front piece. Then I die cut his beard, his hat, and a nose. So let's see what I did here. They are right here. So let's grab our mini dimensionals. And we're going to add one right to the center of his nose. And let's grab his nose. You want to line it up right in that space. And then you'll notice right here, these little spaces is where his hat's going to lay. So let's grab his hat, and we're going to tuck it under his nose and adhere it to his beard. I want to line that up just like that. And pull our piece in. Add some glue. And let's attach his face right to the back. Grab one of these larger dimensionals. Add it to the tip of his hat. Now we have one more piece. We need to make a little stand. So all I did was grab a piece of cardstock. And let me just grab my quick here. We'll do a 1/2 inch, and then 1 1/2, 2 1/2, 2 1/2, and let's do 3 1/2 here, because we want to make a triangle. So let's fold this up, and we want a triangle to fit in the back. So we want it to be a little sturdy. So all I did was 1/2 inch, 1 1/2, 2 1/2, 3 1/2. And I'll give the dimensions tomorrow. And we're just going to adhere these together. Make sure it is adhered really well. And then we're going to add some glue and take our little piece and line it up and adhere it to the back, just like that. So this one stands a little better than this one. See, this one's a little bit more at an angle than this one. So here is our little post-it note holder. Here is card number 1. Get this out of the way. And card number 2. So, ladies, if you're waiting for last week's make and takes, I made a big boo-boo and I forgot to add the right amount of... Yes, there is. I'll show you. It's only after you cut it. If you're waiting for make and takes from last week, I forgot and ordered the wrong amount of paper. So they'll go out this week if you posted last week, purchased last week. So this week, if you make a purchase and use that host code on the screen, you'll get these make and takes. Now, while everybody's here, let me share my screen and pick a winner for tonight's paper. Let's see if I did this right. All right. Is it sharing? Yep. So who is tonight's winner? Pamela, you have won this package of Designer Series paper. Please let me know. Pam, let me not get my share screen. Congratulations. And just let me know, Pamela, how you would like your Designer Series paper cut, 4x6 or 6x6. And I'll get that in the mail. So congratulations. Thanks for joining me, ladies, and for sticking around for so long. It seems each week I'm getting later and later. So it could be because you're not logged in. You say it says Facebook user. That's probably why. So have a great night. Thanks, ladies, for joining me, and I'll talk to you on Saturday. Bye-bye. 4x6? Okay, you've got it. 4x6. Congratulations. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.